Greg in Jersey Village. What you got, sir?
You make me feel like I was standing in a DPS line and stuff.
What's going on?
Well, I'm an anti-Larry. You know, some people, you know, they always say hell is a place where there is no reason. Some people, you just, you know, like the man says, what we have here is a failure to communicate. And that is a lot of what's going on with people that call you. Now, let me tell you some of the conversations that I had over the weekend. You know, I moved down here from Wisconsin. I have friends of mine who moved from all over the country. But all of my friends who moved here, we all have two things in common. We're all black, and we all came from states that were ran by Democrats. So you can sit there and argue with people left and right. You know, I say look at the states with the highest unemployment, the highest taxes, the low graduation rates, the highest number of single black women with kids, and they all have Democrats who's running those districts or the cities or the states. And, you know, they all agree with me. But Barack Obama is still a king, and, you know, he ain't had enough time. He needs time to get, you know, this mess that Bush put us in. And then he says, and when they give me that argument, that he's trying to fix the mess that Bush left him, I said, so you mean to tell me that President Bush had to fix the mess that Bill Clinton left him, you know, like 9/11? Oh, that's different. I said, oh, what's the difference? You know, they can't, then all of a sudden they want to get mad and want to argue with me. Oh, you just wanted over Republicans. You know, they think it's like I have the plague. As soon as I say, well, you know, I vote conservative, not necessarily Republican, but I lean that direction 90%, 99% of the time. So they're trying to make me seem like I'm bad because I vote for conservatives or Republicans, and they're good because they vote for Democrats. I said, well, if you believe in that, move in Acres Homes. You know, I said, if you like all of that stuff, if you believe everything they say, go back to Detroit, go back to California, go back to all of these places, and then see how much you like it. If you liked it so much, go back. And then I'm having an argument right now about what's going on. You know, this is Texas, I know, but, you know, Wisconsin is a bell ringer. The governor of Wisconsin he was like this. He is a 100% fighter. He doesn't care what none of those Democrats up there say. He was the Milwaukee County executive for 8 years, reelected twice in a totally Democrat district. Why? Because he says, I'm not going to raise your property taxes or your taxes. He did that every year, but the Democrats in the city council always overrode his veto, and they raised their taxes. So they know. And there's 1 minute they know they want to keep him because he's doing the right thing, but they want to vote. They don't want to vote against the black people, who's the Democrats in the city council. So they're between a rock and a hard place. So the city of Milwaukee is turning into a so-called chocolate city. All the people with money or who can get out of there are getting out of there. All the people from these states with all these high taxes, they're getting out of there. Businesses are moving out of there. I think the final straw in Wisconsin is when they was Harley Davidson threatened them. We're sick of you sticking us with all these taxes. We're moving down to Texas. That made the papers up there. So then they said, whoa, we got to do something different. So Janesville, the big plant where they built all the GM trucks, closed down. Now, I work for somebody in the federal government. But, you know, I was reading something in an article in the paper about the post office doesn't have any vehicles, doesn't have enough money to buy vehicles. So instead of the president taking our tax money and loaning it, giving it to General Motors and Chrysler, couldn't they use that money and say, well, hey, we need some vehicles for, you know, the U.S. government? Wouldn't that have been a smarter way to use our money since we don't get a choice to figure out where the money goes? Our elected representatives are just letting this stuff happen. And I just don't understand it, you know. And then you got Larry on the phone. He's talking about, well, he wants to, as soon as you beat him in the argument, all of a sudden he wants to argue with you. He wants to fight. He wants to make a bet. You know, that is crazy. I mean, argue for the sake of arguing. You know, you can agree to disagree. Now, I'm not going to say I'm the smartest person in the world, but I'm not the craziest person in the world. I'm not going to call your show and embarrass me, my race, my family, or my American citizenship on coming on the radio and saying something that's totally asinine and stupid. Stereotypes are there for a reason because you do that stuff, people always assume that that's what you're going to do. Your job is to break that stereotype. But when, you know, it's good that you bring these asinine people on there because, you know, some people just don't get it and they never will get it. Like you said before, Michael, you can only reach the people that you can reach. There's a bunch of people out here just never going to ever get through their brain and figure out what's going on. Barack Obama's in Ireland right now. He's trying to figure out his Irish roots. I thought he was a black man. I am confused. And you know another thing that's weird too? He's a black man 1 minute, then he's an Irish man, or he's a Muslim, just like you were saying earlier the day before. You know, and my argument that I hear people saying to me all the time in the black community is, well, nobody ever asked anybody about anybody else's birth certificate or where they went to school at. I said because it was already produced. Barack Obama wants to hide everything. well, I don't think that's right. I said, well, look, he just released his birth certificate. I said, why did it take him almost 2.5 years for him to do that? And she looked at me and she just could not figure it out. I said, yeah, that is kind of crazy. But I'm going to vote for him again. I said, it's kind of crazy, but you're going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I said, come on now. Hell, I mean,
and you know what's so amazing about all this, Greg? All these people that voted for him, their lives are not better. Not that it was his job to come into their town and make their life better, but businesses are not thriving. Taxes are not lower. The world does not all of a sudden love us. Everything that was supposed to happen, none of it did. And it's as if some of these black people that you're talking about, they don't grasp if the country gets poorer, they're going to hurt too. If terrorists attack us, they're going to get attacked too. If jobs are lost, they're going to lose their jobs too. It's as if they've convinced a lot of black people, and I'm not talking about the crackheads and welfare queens. I'm talking about black people that normally that are just as invested in America as everybody else. Trying to buy a house, trying to buy a car, trying to get ahead, trying to get the best education for their kids. Trying to keep it all together. I think Greg's the caller of the day. Don't you, Clayton? You give me hope, Greg. You give me hope, sir. There are plenty of people. You're why we can't stereotype. Because not everybody is Larry or Jonathan. Some people actually think for themselves. Isn't that amazing?